Even demons can cry, even if the circumstances are right. The fiendish femme fatale, the bewitching devil, Trish. This is, well, yeah, she's probably one of the few characters in Devil May Cry I wish they would expand more on, because I would like just to see more of this character, both because I actually like her as a character and, well, yeah, she's kind of hot. There's also that factor, but man, I would just like to see more done with her than they've done so far. Trish is a companion character, and she actually does what I think good companion characters do. They either call out the main protagonist on their bull, or they cause them to maybe see a different side of a certain subject. She did this with Dante, where she caused him to have a new perspective on demons, to see they're not all monsters. She's a femme fatale archetype. She does progress as a character throughout the series. Like she does change over time. Like who she was in the first game is drastically from who you see in the fourth game in the anime. She's like a partner in crime, and similar to Dante, she's a battle-loving badass. The character's history of creation was she was created to be the heroine of the first Devil May Cry game, and somehow she was named after Beatrice, who was a character both in the Divine Comedy and a woman Dante was infatuated with in real life. I mean, not the game Dante, Dante Alighieri. He was infatuated with this woman named Beatrice, even though he had a wife of his own. And she was also married, and they only interacted, I think, once or twice. And this is something I just read when I was researching for information on her, just to add some more to the video. According to this, she was named after her, but I wonder if Trish is like a version of Beatrice. I don't know. I can kind of see it now, maybe, or if her original name was something else. But yes, the main creation history. And as you can see from the image that I presented, she looked different than she does in the final product. Trish's backstory is this. She's a demoness that was created by the demon emperor Mundus in the image of Dante's late mother Eva in order to both lure him to Malay Island or Mallet Island, as well as to fool him using his familiar bond with his mother. Ultimately, Trish would betray Dante on the island and reveal the truth, but the demon hunter defeated her in battle. He would spare her and save her. In return, Trish saved Dante from being killed by Mundus, but seemingly at the cost of her own life. She later turned out to be alive and helped Dante in escaping from Millet Island, as well as defeating Mundus one last time before he was, I think, sealed away again in the demon world. And she became his new partner at the Devil May Cry shop for a time. Eventually, she would part ways with him to claim that she thought they would do better separately. Power wise, Trish has supernatural strength, speed, agility, durability, endurance, teleportation, demonic power channeling and manipulation, accelerated healing, and electric generation and manipulation. Like, this is one of her defining powers or features is she can control electricity and use it. She can also use it to increase someone's power. She did this with Dante at the end of Devil May Cry 1 when he had one last fight with Mundus. I think it was Mundus. And she also uses this in another ability I'll be talking about later. Um, in terms of strength, she once threw Dante across a room and then threw a motorcycle at him. But with no stimuli, no drugs or anything, just with her bare hands and own strength, she threw the motorcycle at him. In terms of ability, she's a hand in hand to hand. She's extremely proficient in swordsmanship. She can rival Dante's. She's a sharpshooter using Luce and Umbra, which are two pistols I believe she got either from Dante after she became his partner or maybe before. I don't really remember. and she's a master of disguise. She showed this in Devil May Cry 4 by disguising herself as Gloria, a new member of the Order of the Sword, and no one recognized her true identity except for Dante. Now, her devil trigger is. This is actually what I was saying for Lair when I mentioned her electric manipulation. Is when she goes into a devil trigger in Devil May Cry 4 Special Edition, her body becomes consumed with a yellow aura from lightning, and yeah, she dons a pair of sunglasses, and it just increases her normal power and the shots from her guns. She also uses it in. Well, actually, no, that's about it. Her equipment is mostly a pair of Colt 1911s, Luce and Umbra. These were a pair of pistols that once belonged to Sparta, and later Trish got a hold of them. And she also uses a sword called the Sword of Sparta, which Dante gave to Trish after she became his partner. Well, after he left it with her after he thought she died because he no longer needed it, and then she just used it afterwards as her main weapon. At least in like Devil May Cry 4. In the anime, she only used pistols and her lightning ability. In physical appearance, as I mentioned before, Trish was made to look similar to Dante's mother, exactly similar, like identical. So, because of this, she has lengthy blonde hair, blue eyes, and a very fair complexion. Relatively well endowed, wears black leather pants, high heeled boots, a corset, which usually has what looks like a lightning bolt in the middle, revealing some of her cleavage and midriff. Double belts, a choker, and some kind of wrist accessory. As for personality, when she was a puppet of Mundus, Trish was cruel and uncaring. After being freed from Mundus, through her partnership with Dante, she developed a playful teasing habit. Like she would tease both Dante and Letty from time to time. She had some protectiveness. This was shown in the anime when she finds out he's still eating nothing but pizza and strawberry sundaes. And then Dante's like, "Oh, don't lecture me. You're not my mother." She mocks people's beliefs. This is shown in a taunt she had in Devil May Cry 4 SC, where she would say stuff to the effect of, "May the Savior be with you," as if. And like Dante, she enjoys a good fight. She's also very competitive, usually making any job into a competition. You see this at the end of the anime and at the end when you see the start of Dante's side of the story in Devil May Cry 5, where the first one there is the winner, I guess. And by there I mean the Urizen, the demon they're there to fight. Like Dante, both after her creation by Mundus and through her partnership with Dante, she developed a myriad of relationships with people. None of them were romantic, as far as I know. Mundus, her creator, became her enemy. Dante became her partner in crime from time to time and friend. Letty became a friend, I think mostly over their mutual enjoyment out of teasing and messing with Dante. Nero became an ally, the same with Nico, and Virgil. Actually, I'm not really sure what she thinks of Virgil. Just like Dante, Trish has accumulated a couple of enemies. The main one I think would be Mundus, the creator she technically betrayed. The leader of the Order of the Sword, and the Order of the Sword itself would also technically count as enemies of hers because of what she did against them. Although that is kind of up in the air. I don't really know what she or what their thought of her is after everything's come out about what the Order of the Sword was doing. But yeah, Sanctus was definitely an enemy of hers. And the Order of the Sword she just kind of messed with. Well, not messed with, more like she not manipulated. She convinced them she was on her side as Gloria when she was in disguise. And yeah, she doesn't have as many enemies as Dante, mostly because most of her enemies, I think, end up dead. But then again, so are Dante, so maybe she does have just as many as him. Because as his partner, she would technically have to share those enemies. Because once they find out who she's partners with, she'd be like, oh, that's Dante's partner, kill her. So there's that. The appeal for me with Trish has always been, well, a couple things. One is the dynamic between her and Dante, especially in the anime and in Devil May Cry 4 and 5. I always liked that. I liked their just like banter. Another is her personality, and the last one would be she owns her sexuality. Like Trish looks like the kind of lady that if you met in real life, you would want to date her, or at least you'd want a shot at dating her. I compare this to like some characters in comics now. They do not look like women you would want to date. They look like women you would avoid. They look like the worst kind of tomboys. Sometimes, depending on the artist and the writer. And this is something that actually Champion Analysis pointed out that kind of stuck with me. Yeah, she's not afraid to dress seductively or suggestively. And yeah, she dishes out pain just as much as the boys in red and blue. The only difference is she does it seductively. And yes, the main appeal for me. I'd also say she has. Well, it's not just the dynamic with Dante. I also find her dynamic with Lady kind of interesting. Now, this is something that Champion Analysis has kind of put in my head, and now I can't get it out. But this is also something that I think works with good side characters or companion characters or just allies in general. They could work in their own story. Trish, I think this especially can be called on because she's kind of like Moonglum. She could work in her own story. The only difference is Moonglum, I think, got his own story, or one of the Elric characters did. And after playing Devil May Cry 4 Special Edition, yeah, I could see Trish working as a playable character in her own story. Like, as Champion Analysis put it, before, when she still worked for Mundus, she was uncaring and cruel, and then she developed later personality traits of her own. This had to have happened from personal exploration, which we never see in the anime or the games. And I would personally like to say that. Plus, it gives us a chance to have Dante back in the story. You could just focus on her working with Dante on cases of demon hunting, and see her develop these new personality traits. See her sort of develop a disdain for his love of pizza and strawberry sundaes. See kind of like their relationship grow to where they become the demon killing badass pair they are. That or just do books or mangas on it. Well, actually, maybe not manga because mangas based on games don't always do so well. Like there were a couple attempts for Devil May Cry to have mangas. They didn't last long. You only got two for Devil May Cry 3, and the one they had intended for Lady got canceled. But if you could make it work, then yeah, do that. There are a couple characters that I would compare Trish to. Ada Wong is one, mainly because she's kind of like a femme fatale character. She helps Leanne from time to time. Trish helps Dante from time to time. Another comparison would be to Lady, who's in the same universe. They both hunt demons and devils, both get a joy out of kind of making life a little uncomfortable for Dante. Another comparison would be Jian, I think is how you pronounce her name, from Bayonetta, and also Bayonetta. Both are, well, in terms of Bayonetta and Trish, they both have a kind of snarky personality. Well, not snarky, but they do kind of trash talk. And Jian is kind of like a friend slash compet. Well, not rival because, but she and she and Bayonetta are allies who help each other from time to time. And that's the main comparison I would say. Another example would be I would also compare it to Raftalia in that they're both companion characters who like have their own backstory, history, and there's room to expand upon them. The takeaway for me with Trish would probably be have a character that can change positions on a subject, or that can change their position. Like this is something she did with Dante. She both changed his perspective on demons to a small extent, and she also changed her perspective and stance in the world she inhabited. She went from being another demon who was interested in killing Dante to his ally and friend. Another one is have antagonists or enemies that can be reformed. Like I'm all for having antagonists and villains who are evil and maniacal and just relish doing evil things, but sometimes there are antagonists, depending on how you use them, that make me kind of want them to live and just get therapy. And I just want to see them reform and become like anti-heroes. You could always do that. If there's a character you like and don't want to waste or save for a future story, you could do that. Another thing is, allies can be as badass as the protagonist. This is kind of something that I think Marvel does bad. They have to tear down other characters to build other characters up, like some of their female characters. With Dante and Trish, you didn't have to tear Dante down to make Trish look good. She just became good in her own right. And both of them are badass, but although in Devil May Cry 5 they kind of did misuse her and tear her down a bit and didn't use her for much. So there was that, but overall, no, they didn't have to do that with her. She and Lei work just fine as their own characters, and they never need, like, the only time they really need Dante to pull them out of the fire is in 5 and 3, and that's just barely. Like in 3, Dante with Lady anyway, she she entrusted him to finish the job, and with Trish, it's more like the writers just didn't do much with her. I'm hoping they change that in the future or something. There's also room for expansion. As mentioned before, I think Trish could work in her own story or a game, kind of like Moonglum, or whatever character that is that Elric has in his stories that works in spin-offs. You could do that with Trish, like have her own gamer story that focuses on her after Millet Island and how she grows as a person while doing demon hunting jobs with Dante. I think that could work. I think it would. You would need a good writer for that, though. So it depends on who you get for the job. And those are the main takeaways. So yeah, have a nice day, and remember the game was rigged from the start.